Come on in, everyone. Come on in. And yes, I am back from my vacation. I am back from my vacation. I got to catch up on all my videos, y'all. I really do. Please come back later today, tomorrow, whenever, because I am going to be doing videos on Never Ever Mets and Always Somebody's Son. I'm going to catch up on them all. But I had to pop in here real quick. Quick video. I mean, it's going to be a quick video because how long does it take to say I told you so? It don't take long. It don't take long to tell you I told you so. You know, do I really like to gloat? I really don't like to gloat. And honestly, it's not that I'm a P. Diddy fan, and we know that P. Diddy has done some horrible, horrible things. But everybody knows over here at my YouTube channel, married 10 years, whatever, that I don't just go off emotion. I don't. And let me tell you when I knew Diddy was going to be acquitted. Honestly, y'all, I thought Diddy was going to get acquitted of all charges, all charges. So I was surprised they even accused him of this Mann Act, which we're going to talk about. I really thought he was going to get acquitted when, I say at first, I was like, okay, they're going to charge him with something because they're just going to want to put this terrible person behind bars. That's what I thought. But then on that first day when they started deliberating and they came back and they reported this juror number 25, and they were saying that he's not cooperating, right? Remember that. They said, oh, this person's not cooperating. They're not following the law. And what it appeared to be was that everybody else was in agreement, but this one person was a holdout. And what everybody else was saying was they were thinking that everybody else was trying to say guilty, guilty, guilty for everything. And this one man was a holdout for being not guilty. Well, I knew that was a lie because I already knew that there was going to be people split on this case, because if you followed the case, even in social media, we were all very split. There were people like me who were like, no, these charges are inappropriate for what Diddy did. And then there were other people who said he's guilty across the board. So as the public, we were split. That's why I kept calling y'all, I'm a fake juror. I'm a fake juror. And a lot of you, you started with the personal attacks in my chat. You talked about how good thing you not a lawyer and you just an engineer because you don't know no law and the lawyers know better. Well, I guess the lawyers don't know better because there's a whole lot of lawyers doing commentary all trial long. And guess what? They all end up being wrong. Wrong. Because listen, I told y'all this before, that you are judged by a juror of your peers. You're not judged by lawyers, and you're not judged by social workers or psychologists or psychiatrists or people who've had trauma themselves in terms of they've been a victim of sexual assault or anything. So a lot of people were looking at this trial through the lens of themselves and their own personal history. And I kept saying over and over again that those will not be the jurors. So on that day, when they came back and they said this juror was not being cooperative, he can't follow the law, juror number 25, I was like, oh, okay, everybody is thinking that this juror is the one holding out. Everybody wants to vote guilty, and he's the only one voting not guilty. I said, well, first of all, I don't believe everyone's going to vote guilty. So that made me say then, my own logic, because y'all know I'm logical, I'm saying that would mean it's not that everybody wanted guilty and he didn't want guilty. They're held up on some type of, some people want to do this, some people want to do that. That's what I knew. Then they told us who juror number 25 was. That's what I knew. Oh, okay. Juror number 25's profile was a 51-year-old white man who was like what did they say he was? I know he was a STEM major. He was a STEM major. Let me go and see what juror number 25 did. What they say that he was. Um, hold up with me. Hold up. He had a PhD. He was a 50-year-old man from New York, Manhattan, a PhD in molecular biology and neuroscience. So I said right there, when everybody was saying that they wouldn't want me on the jury because I'm too technical, I need facts, I'm not be going off emotions. And they said they wouldn't want me on the trial because then they knew they couldn't get a conviction for me. And then I heard that here was this other person. I guess, and y'all tell me I'm always think like a man. So I guess I'm like a 51-year-old white man, a STEM major. I said, ooh, so if this 51-year-old STEM major is the one that's not cooperating, more than likely that 51-year-old STEM major is thinking like me. And what that STEM major is thinking is that, no, I want to vote not guilty across the board. I believe that was the holdup. I believe that was the holdup. I believe they had to convince that 51-year-old neuroscience white man to at least vote for the Mann Act. Because I think what the juror said is, we are not letting Diddy walk out of here without any charges. Absolutely not. But the 51-year-old white man STEM major really wanted to say not guilty to everything. That's what I believe it was. And what they had to come to was, they told him, man, we don't want to be here forever. We want to go home for July 4th. And Diddy did some horrible things. And so now we're going to have to convict him on something, but we agree, we're not convicting him of RICO, bribery, arson, any of that stuff. You see, I ain't been here in a while to express my views on this case because honestly, y'all know that I'm not necessarily, I can be conflict averse. I really don't like to get in it with people. So, I keep my opinions to myself. But as the trial was going on and when they came back and they tried to reframe the charges for the jury, I already knew they was in trouble. Because let me tell you something. Even though the jury is not allowed to watch social media when they go home, they weren't even sequestered. The attorneys are. And the attorneys have younger attorneys on the case, and they're all watching social media. And they all listen to people's opinions out here in the street. And they saw the split commentary. And they said that if the commentary in social media is split like it is, that would mean that we have a possibility of having a split jury. And when we were out here in the streets on social media and YouTube and whatever else, everyone kept saying, we don't see RICO. We were all a lot of people were unified on we don't see RICO. And so the prosecution knew they had a problem going into deliberation. That's why they tried to reframe. I know all these other lawyers out here try to say, no, that's not why they're reframing it, blah, blah. Let me tell you something. Like I said, I know people. There's no reason to come back and lessen your charges just so you can have a good explanation, unless you believe you went too hard in the paint. And they went too hard in the paint. These prosecutors were overzealous. And as a result, they lost big. It's like going to Vegas, right? And you got $1,000 and you bet big. You bet it all. And you say, well, why did you bet $1,000? Why couldn't you just bet 400, 500? But you want to bet it all. Well, you bet it all and you lost big. Because what they were saying is, let's go big and let's win big. Let's bring out 100 DEA agents, everything swarm Diddy's house. Let's make a movie out of it. Let's really hype up the case before the case even starts. And by the time we got to the case, it was a big letdown. It's like a Tyler Perry movie. Starts off great. The trailers look great. Then you watch the movie and you're like, this ain't even nothing. This ain't even nothing. I wasted my $15 at the movies, whatever it costs now, to go to the movies to see this, because that's what the Diddy trial ended up being about. It ended up being about salacious stories, horrible stories about baby oil and Astroglide and what these people was doing in their bedrooms. Who cared? And witness after witness after witness. I'll tell you this. Once we heard that they did come back with a couple of verdicts, but they were, deadlock on the other verdict. That's when I actually at that time, I didn't think they would convict him of anything with those other ladies, like whatever those ladies' names were, Joy or Jane. I mean, they were anonymous, I believe. I thought the only one person they would maybe give a charge to was going to be Cassie. So the fact that they came back with 2 charges of the Mann Act for both Cassie and I think the other lady, that did surprise me. I thought they would at least only come back with 1 for one lady and not for the other lady. 1 for Cassie, almost like a sympathy verdict for Cassie. Because honestly, I'm telling you, it should have been not guilty across the board. But anyway, they came back with 2 counts. Now, let me tell you where I am now. Put your mad hat on. All you people were triggered. I was very shocked that here we have Diddy, who's been convicted of something like the Mann Act. And what they did was they said he wasn't even eligible for bail. I thought that that was horrendous in terms of the power of the judge. Does he have the power? Yeah, he does. But this act that he's a danger to the public, Diddy ain't no danger to me. Diddy's not a danger to me. Diddy's not a danger to the general public. Diddy is a danger to women who are willing to subject themselves to the type of behavior that Diddy does in order to reap benefits. That's who he's a dangerous. So really by denying Diddy bail, what the court has said was, once again, which I think is a horrible message, that women, you can't protect yourself against a Diddy in the world. You can't avoid them. So therefore, we must protect you because we must not let Diddy out of jail. Well, I'm not afraid of a Diddy. Diddy can't harm me. Diddy, even if I was a young, Diddy wouldn't be preying upon me. You're only gonna become a victim of Diddy if you are susceptible to wanting the money, the fame, the bright light of Diddy, and you're willing to do anything you can in order to get it, and you're willing to outdo other women with horrendous sex acts to get it. That's when you're a danger. So the fact that they classified him as a danger to society, I thought, wow. So once again, women are helpless. Once again, we need to be protected from Diddy. When no, we can protect ourselves, ladies. I keep saying it. We are strong. We are strong. We are strong, right? And if you tap into your own power, you will realize that you do not need to be a victim of Diddy or this type of person at all. And so the fact that the judge denied him bail, that told me something. And even in the quest to deny bail, I heard that the prosecution said, no, we don't want bail. In fact, Your Honor, because we lost so big, we want you to give 10 years for each Mann Act, which means Diddy would get 20 years. So 20 years for being convicted of this Mann Act. So I was like, what is the Mann Act in the first place? Lo and behold, I just happened to Google the Mann Act because, like I said, I don't even know too much about this. Stuff's all new to me with the Diddy trial. I Googled the Mann Act. And you know what the Mann Act says, y'all? Let me Google it again so I can make sure I get this right. Let me make sure I get this right. Do y'all know that the normal phrase for the Mann Act is also known as the White Slave Traffic Act? Did you just hear what I just said? The Mann Act is also known as the White Slave Traffic Act, and it's a U.S. federal law passed in 1910 that prohibits the transportation of individuals across state lines or international borders for prostitution or debauchery or for any other immoral purposes. 1910. 1910. When did slavery even end? Slavery didn't even end until 1865, for the most part. That's the official ending of slavery. 1910 is just 45 years later. So, and let me tell you, they didn't call it the Black Slave Trafficking Act or whatever. They call it the white, that's what they call it, the white one. And who do you think was transporting or even trying to transport white women across state lines for trafficking? White women, because that's what they're calling it, white women. Do you think slaves who just got freed 40 years ago, do you really think black slaves were the ones who went from being slaves to now what they're doing out here in the world is they are transporting white women across state lines to traffic them as prostitutes? No, absolutely not. This law was put in place for white men. That's who this law was put in place for, because think about it. Slavery had ended. White men had, for long periods of time, used black women as their bedding them and abusing them and having sex with them whenever they wanted. But guess what? That's over with. That's over with. You're not doing that anymore because slavery is over. You don't have black women to just do whatever you want to do with and make them slaves to you, both sexually and in any kind of way. So what did white men look like they turned to? Obviously, they turned to saying, hey, let's ramp this up and let's start getting these white women into this slavery. So then they say, well, no, white man, you can't do this. And I'm going to keep saying white man because there's no one else out there who was doing this. Black men weren't doing. I don't believe it. Someone can tell me, oh, yeah, they were doing. I don't believe it. They weren't doing it. So next thing you know, they put in this law to prevent white men from turning and starting to enslave white women. And from what we hear, this law was used against high-profile white men who had a lot of money, and they used their money to do this to women. And those high-profile men were people like Charlie Chaplin. That's what it's saying here in Google. Charlie Chaplin, white men who were famous, had money, different things like that. So now, isn't it ironic that we have P. Diddy, who is now a black man, who is now being charged with a law that was originally intended to stop white men from trafficking white women. And here we are in 2025 where we can date anyone we want to date. There's no racial biases. And now P. Diddy, they've used a law that before was used to capture white men for doing sex crimes against white women. They've used that law now against Diddy to now convict him of doing the same thing to white women. I don't know. I guess y'all can say Cassie's, I don't know, she biracial. I don't know. These women, I couldn't see any of these women. I thought all these women were biracial. They're not black. I believe they was all of different ethnicities. So I think that's quite ironic. Now, the prosecution wants what, 10 and 10, 20 years for Diddy? He shouldn't get that. He shouldn't get 20 years. So it'll be interesting to see what the judge is going to give him. I think the judge didn't let Diddy out on trial because I guess he felt that would be too big of a spectacle, that Diddy got to walk out of court on bail. He didn't want those optics. The judge didn't. But what I wonder is when the judge does come back, if he'll come back sober-minded and not full of his own emotions, right? Because the fact that he denied Diddy bail, I think that was not logical. I think that was based on appealing to the emotions of the victims of Diddy, because Diddy did have victims, and appealing to the world. He knew this was a high-profile case. He didn't want to be the judge that just let Diddy walk out of court. He didn't want that to happen. But when he goes back and he starts to think about sentencing, he has a choice. He could do what the prosecution wants and do 10 on 10, make it 20. Or he could do something more reasonable, which may be about 5 years, 6 years, giving credit for time served. So Diddy's already been in jail for a year, so 5 years would go down to 4 years. And then I don't know how much of a sentence you serve. I know people don't have to serve their full sentence, so I don't know if Diddy has to serve 80%, 70%. Lawyers know that stuff, which means if I'm down to 4 years, I have to serve 7 years. That's only 2.5 more years Diddy would be in jail. That's kind of what I think should happen. Should he get 20 years? Absolutely not. If the judge comes back and gives him 20 years, I think, of course, Diddy's team will appeal it. And I believe they would win on appeal. I do. I just don't see getting 20 years for the crime that you committed. We've seen this before where a judge is upset about what the jury came back with. And so even though they have the authority to give more time, they've done it. That's how they got OJ, because, OJ got acquitted of his case, but people were very upset about that. And then eventually what he really got years for was burglary or something, or armed robbery or something. It was something. So in the end, they said, I couldn't get you over here, but I'm going to throw the book at you for this other crime in which ordinarily we would have only given a person this amount of years. But because we can give you this amount, we'll give you this amount. So I don't know if that's going to happen here. I don't know who the judge is. I don't know what type of thing he does. But I'm going to tell you this. I told you so. It took me a little longer to say I told you. I thought I would be able to tell y'all I told you so in 8 minutes. So how long we been talking? 20 minutes? That's how long it took me to tell you I told you so. And let this be a lesson. Let this be a lesson to a lot of women out there. A lot of women. This is why I tell you, women, you better take your power back. Because if you are relying upon people to see you as a victim, even though your hands are dirty and muddy and bloody too, you're going to be disappointed. That's not the world anymore. The world no longer, with all the power women have out here in career, in jobs, in family, in everything. Are we still victims? Yes. But we are not in 1910 when this Mann Act was established. It's not 1910 anymore. So women can't have both worlds anymore. You can't call yourself a victim, but then you sitting over here doing the kind of stuff that a lot of these ladies was doing. Let this be a lesson to everyone. And this jury was made up of eight women and 4 men, or 4 men and 8 women. I don't remember. But this tells you that this crosses gender lines. You're not just being viewed this way by men or women. You're being viewed this way by a lot of people. And it's clear, this jury sent a message saying, we did not see these ladies as victims of these other crimes. We definitely didn't see Rico. We definitely saw them victims of abuse. Absolutely. Physical abuse. We did. But you can't be out here earning $250,000, setting up freak offs and whatever, and then at the end of the show, end of the time, say you was a complete victim. No, it's too muddy. Were you a victim today, but not tomorrow? It could be. Yeah, I understand that. I understand that you can say yes today and no tomorrow, but this is a chance you take when you running around here acting like this, saying yes today and no tomorrow. You take the chance that people become confused. And so you got to ask yourself, do I always want to rely on people always knowing when my yes is a yes and my no is a no? Stay out of it, ladies. Stay away from it. Stay out of it and stay away from it. We can protect ourselves with smarter decisions. And I don't think that validating some of the behavior of the ladies is a good message to send younger people, because then younger people could think, oh, I could just do this. Now, what's going to happen now with P. Diddy? P. Diddy going to have more freak offs. I don't know how he's going to edit it or alter it so he doesn't end up back here, but he absolutely is going to have more freak offs, because Diddy was addicted to freak offs. It's all he liked to do. In fact, we learned through this case that a lot of these other stories we heard about Diddy, none of that ever came out. We never heard about any of the gay stuff with Diddy. None of it ever came out. Not did any of these ladies, Cassie on down, ever say they witnessed Diddy doing this stuff with other men. You have men out here in social media saying it, but maybe they're just there to get information from Diddy. We come to find out that all of this stuff was very, very private behind closed doors. That's what we're finding out. All that other stuff in the news, it sounds like it was a bit salacious. So Diddy was addicted to drugs, and Diddy's addicted to baby oil, Astroglide, being a porn director, addicted to beating on women, all these things he's addicted to. The question now becomes, just like OJ, when you get out, however long that's going to be, can you stop doing the drugs? Can you stop doing freak offs? I don't think he's going to be able to. I think Diddy's going to start doing some variation of freak offs. And now, here has been a public moment. Every woman should know now. Every woman is on notice. Any woman that gets involved with Diddy has got to understand that that is a risk in that relationship you end up with him. It's a risk. It's a risk. So if another woman gets with Diddy, and in 5 years, 10 years, whenever he gets out of jail, we hear about him being in another freak off. Because they're going to show up. Ladies are going to show up. There's too many people out here where money is at the root of how they operate. People sell their souls for money, right? And there are a lot of people who are willing to sell their souls to be in proximity and next to men like Diddy just for money. So do I think that this is over? I don't. I don't think it's over. I don't think it's going to end. I think that it's going to continue because I don't think that Diddy is going to be healed. And I don't think that there's going to be all of a sudden every woman out here is not going to want to be with Diddy. So that's the sad thing about it, that can you really stop this? No. So I guess they think, oh, the way we stop it is we put Diddy in jail. No, because all those ladies still exist too. Diddy ain't the only one out here doing this. You think Diddy got a unique freak off situation? No, he's not unique. There's probably hundreds, maybe even thousands of men doing the very same thing Diddy's doing. There's thousands of women. And that's why these women competed so hard with each other, because what they knew was that they're not even unique. What they knew was, if I say no to Diddy, Diddy can get another woman tomorrow who will do it. That's what they knew. Because if they really believed they were unique and they were the only ones who wanted to do this, they wouldn't feel such a need to do it. And like they said, they wouldn't have felt coerced. They wouldn't have felt coerced. So anyway, that's all I got, y'all. If you stick with me through the other reviews, Somebody's Son and what's the other one? Never Ever Met, come back because I'm going to do videos on those too. But that's all I got, y'all. Good to be back. And I will see y'all soon. Bye.